Hey everyone, this is Sean Smith and welcome back to video number 3 of this training series. The third most common response that we got back from the survey was about time management and working consistently. So I want to teach you some concepts here and a few tips and techniques to help you in this arena. First of all, there is no right way. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is that they're searching for the right way to quote unquote manage their time and to work consistently. And I think that's a big mistake because you are very unique. And if there were 10 people in front of us, there would be 10 different 10 different unique set of circumstances. You've got values that are unique to you. You've got family stuff and like all kinds of details that are really unique to you. And so I think what's important is that you take your situation and come up with a system that will work for your situation. Instead of trying to fit yourself into kind of a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach to time management and working consistently, I want you to adapt to what's really important to you and your unique set of characteristics and desires and fears and just life circumstances, right? So there is no right way to do this. However, you must have a way. Right? So I want you to have some kind of system. Got a little smiley face here. It's important to have something with clarity around it that you can follow. And as you go along, you'll test and tweak and figure out which way works best for you. But definitely have something. But don't be afraid to take bits and pieces of a system that you learn from this person over here and other pieces from this system over here and put them together into something that really works for you, all right? The next thing, I probably should have said this first, that there actually is no such thing as managing time, right? Even though we call this time management, it's just the phrase that we usually use, but you really can't manage time. I mean, we all have 24 hours a day. We have 60 seconds every minute, right? 60 minutes every hour. There's nothing we can do about the time that we have. What we're really trying to manage is the activity within the time that we have. And I think this is a big issue because if you're wanting to manage time, I mean, you're literally trying to do something that's impossible. There's nothing you can do with the amount of time that you have on a daily basis, but you can manage the activities and become more effective and maximize your results within the 24 hours that you have every day. So I would suggest that you stop using actually any time management. Just stop using that in your language and stop talking about managing time. Start talking about activity management, because that's really what we want to focus on. And along those lines, I want you to stay empowered with all of your language. One of the things that I think is causing a big problem for people is that within their language, they're really disempowering themselves. Like one of the things that I think is so common is a vagueness in language that's definitely not helpful. So for instance, people will say, well, something like, I just need to manage more time. Well, or manage my time better. If that's impossible to do, then you don't have any clarity in your language and you're actually disempowering yourself in your language. Or if you say, I just need to be more focused, there's no clarity there. That doesn't actually give you something to do. It just keeps you focused on the problem, basically. And I don't think anybody has a focus problem. The issue is you're not focusing on and doing the things that you really wish you, that you wish you would be doing or that you should be doing. So with your language, I want you to stay empowered and always be focused on doing. Have activities that you're targeting. Don't just talk about situations. Don't just talk about how overwhelmed you are. Don't just talk about everything that's going wrong in your business. Start focusing on what you can do within the time frame that you have, and that'll keep you more empowered. When you adopt this kind of victim stance of, this is so tough because I don't have enough time. And I would say, maybe 80 to 90% of the people out there have some kind of limiting belief around not having enough time. And that's not serving you. So just drop that story. It's not going to help you create what you want to create in your business. Another piece here is you want to create space for your business. What I mean by that is if you want to put 10 hours a week into your business or 5 hours, it doesn't matter the amount of time, but if you want to put a certain amount of hours per week into your business, you need to remove the same number of hours from your current schedule. And I know this makes like logical sense, and I think it's kind of elementary to a lot of people, but I'm surprised at how many people don't do that, right? So if you say, you know, I'm going to put 10 hours into my business, you have to trade other less valuable things. And maybe it's watching TV or, you know, doing computer games or whatever the case is. But you have to trade in things that are less valuable so that you can replace them with things that are more valuable. If you just keep trying to pack your business onto an already full schedule, you're going to run into a bunch of conflicts and a bunch of challenges, and it's going to create a lot of frustration when it comes to working consistently because you don't have space for your business. And sometimes this means physical space. Actually create an area in your house that you do all of your work, right? Like create a workspace. But mostly it's a time space that we're talking about. So make sure that you have the time to run your business. And then here's one of my favorite concepts. Don't land the airplane. One of the mistakes that people make is that they work really hard one day and kind of have an all or nothing mentality, you know, and if you don't have 2 hours to put into your business the following day, you don't do anything. And when you don't do anything in your business, you're effectively landing your airplane. And that means, you know, at some point in time in the future, you're going to have to take off again. Now, with the actual airplane analogy, you know, most of the danger in flights is taking off and landing, and most of the fuel is used in taking off and landing. And in life, I think it's really similar. It's more challenging, more difficult to get going after you've stopped. So what I want you to do is, as best you can, don't stop. You know, let's say that your goal is to make 20 phone calls one day, and life gets in the way, and you have to go pick up your kids early from school or something like that. What most people do is if they don't have the time to make the 20 phone calls, which is what they set out to do, then they won't make any phone calls. And that's a huge mistake. I would rather see you make one phone call and keep your airplane in the air and continue with the momentum than to let it land and let the momentum stop, right? So keep the momentum going by not landing your airplane. This is one that I talked a lot about on my teleconference call that I actually did today. You have to create boundaries, especially when you have all kinds of roles as a wife, as a mom, as, you know, just all the different roles you have, friends, you've got hobbies that you want to do, and you've got to create boundaries around your business that says, during this time, I'm playing Mary Kay. During this time, I'm playing mom or wife or sister or whatever, right? Or you're just spending time with yourself, doing something that you love to do individually. But more important than creating those boundaries is honoring those boundaries. You know, if you set a time that says between 5 and 7, I'm making phone calls, at 7 o'clock, you got to stop and switch into another role, especially if you have a family. And if you're not honoring those boundaries, then you might as well not create the boundaries. But if you can honor those boundaries, then it gives you permission to basically focus 100% of the time on your business when it's business time, and then focus 100% of the time on your family when it's family time. And you'll be able to keep those boundaries really clean and let people know what the boundaries are. Tell them what times you're available and what times you're not available. Ask them not to call you. Ask them not to text you. Ask them, you know, not to knock on your door when you're when you're working, you know, during these certain hours. So boundaries is really big. In my experiences, when you communicate what your boundaries are and you communicate how important it is for you to work your business, most people will respect those. And a lot of times they will actually support you and hold you accountable for continuing to work inside your boundaries. So that's a really big piece, especially juggling a bunch of different roles that you have. Another thing here is I want you to prioritize your activities according to your values. Now, I'm not going to go real deep in values. If you choose to join us in the coaching program that I'll tell you more about next week, we'll go like really deep in values, and we'll probably spend a couple hours on a values exercise that'll help elicit what are the things that are most important to you. Actually, what are your fulfillment values? That's really what we want to know. What are the things that are going to make you fulfilled in life. And these are specific to you. These aren't like general values of love and peace and stuff like that. They're specific to you. And it's really important to know what your personal values are so that you can decide what activities you're going to say yes to and what activities you're going to say no to. You have to remember that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And if you don't understand what your value system is, and you don't really understand which activities are going to fulfill your highest values and which activities are actually going to detract from your highest values, then it's going to be really tough to say no to people. But when you understand what your value system is, what are the things that are most important to you, and you can prioritize, I promise you, it'll give you permission and almost an obligation to say no to the things that won't really fulfill you, to say no to the things that aren't most important to you. So this has been one of the best things that I ever learned in terms of controlling my schedule, is really understanding what are the things that are most important to me and understanding my value structure. And then the final thing on this page is, this is just crucial, is you have to build a success team. And there's really 5 elements to a success team. Number 1 is you got to go to live events, right? And just, mingle with the people that are at live events. You got to have an accountability partner. You've got to have a mastermind group. You got to have a mentor or mentors. You got to have a private coach. If you don't have any of those 5 things, then you will not maximize your potential, I promise you. And so if you only have one of those things, if all you do is go to live events, but you're not plugged into any of those other things, you're really severely handicapping your potential. You need to surround yourself with people that are going to support you, people that are going to see the things that you're not seeing, and people that can help you stay on track, and people that can help you continue to operate inside of your activities and not let you stray and not just let you play the, do-it-yourself solo game. If you just try to do this all on your own, you will either, I would say 95% of us are going to fail doing it on our own. At some point in time, we're going to quit, or we're not going to see the solutions that, are right in front of our face, or it'll just take you a heck of a lot longer than it could have. So you've got to have that success team if you want to set yourself up to succeed. All right, now what I have here is, this is like a calendar system, sort of, that you might follow. See if this will serve you. And it's really based on taking a look at what are the things that are non-negotiable to you. And again, it's really dangerous if you say, well, I'm just going to work on my business for 10 hours, but you don't create the space for 10 hours and you don't schedule those 10 hours. You got to know, when are you going to do these things? And some of you have this down really well, but some of you don't. And so what this is just like an example of, let's say this is your calendar and these are the times over here. And let's say you have a full-time job. What I have is in orange here, this is all the non-negotiable time. This is your job, Monday through Friday. Maybe you've set aside 3 dinners with the family that you're not going to work your business, so you block those out, or that's homework time or whatever it is. Maybe you've got church over here on Sunday that you're not willing to give up, right? So these are the non-negotiables. Okay? And then you take a look at, well, what's left in my schedule? And what I did is I put blue as an example for the things that they're not critical that you do, but they're things that you really want to do, right? And maybe these are like, playing bunco with your friends or something like that. Things that are important to you, but they're just not crucial, right? But so they're want-tos, they're desires, but they're not necessary. They're not like, you got to show up at your job, right? And then what you could do is another color. In this case, I did green for the hours that you can work your business. So let's say in this scenario, you've got, Mondays and Wednesdays for an hour or 2, and then you've got all night Tuesdays and Thursdays after your job to go to your success meetings or to do a skincare class or facials and what have you. Now, here's a really critical piece. A real critical piece is that you create time in your schedule for free time, as well as, I'm just calling it lifetime. The reason I call it lifetime is because a lot of people say, I had this plan, but life got in the way. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to leave a few hours in your schedule for that lifetime, for that spillover time, where, you're surprised by something. You've actually created in your calendar a space for you to put out fires, you know, whatever that's going to look like for you. And that'll help. Like if you know that you've already built in 3 hours into your week, let's say, to put out fires, then if you have to spend 2 hours putting out a fire that you didn't plan on, it'll be so much easier for you to not get freaked out because you already budgeted time for that. And I also want you to schedule free time just for yourself too. I mean, the things that you put in your schedule are important to you, and you're way more likely to not just commit to, but actually follow through on the stuff that gets into your calendar. So I want you to schedule stuff into your calendar. And when you put things in your calendar, here's one of my favorite concepts. It's been really helpful for me. And it's just called focus time. Focus time. When it's time to make calls, just make calls. When it's time to do paperwork, just do paperwork. You know, when it's time to fulfill any of those other roles outside of your business, just be in that role 100% as much as you possibly can. One of the things that we tend to do is we try to do a bunch of different things at once. And I still fall into this pattern every now and then. I've got a lot more awareness on it, and I try to just focus on the things that I'm doing, and I try not to answer phone calls or look at emails if I've got a project that I really need to give my attention to. And you will have better momentum that way. You'll have better energy. You'll have better focus if you block out these chunks of time in your calendar and that's all you do during that time. Now, I know that the majority of you are females that are watching this, which means that you probably have a high value on multitasking, right? But I really want you to pay attention to how you operate when you multitask. My experience is multitasking, well, first of all, multitasking is actually physically impossible. You cannot focus on 2 things at the same time, you know, especially when we're talking about doing activities, right? You can focus on one and then go to the other and then go to the other and then go back and forth. You can go back and forth, but in each, you know, individual moment, you're only focused on one thing at a time. And when you keep changing focus like that, even though you feel like you're doing several things at the same time, when you keep changing focus, you're pulling away from the momentum that you could have if you were just, you know, had blinders on, you were just working at one thing at a time. I want to share this exercise with you. This is really cool, and we're actually going to create a contest around this, right? So this exercise is called Multitasking is Worse Than a Lie, and here's the way you do it. You're going to write this phrase, and you're going to write the numbers 1 through 27, because there's 27 letters up here. So you're going to write this sentence and then the numbers 1 through 27. You're going to write it 2 different times, but you're going to do it specifically the way I explain it to you, so you can see the difference, you know, between focus and between multitasking. So the first way I want you to do it is I want you to write 1 letter and then 1 number, and then 1 letter and then 1 number, and then 1 letter and then 1 number. So if I was doing this right now, it would look like this. I would write M1, U2, L3, T4, I5, etc. So write 1 letter up top and then 1 number and then letter, number, letter, number. You just keep going back and forth until you've completed the sentence and you've completed the numbers. And you'll complete them at the same time because there's 27 letters and 27 numbers, okay? So you do that, and I want you to time yourself. So get out like a little stopwatch and time yourself. And whatever time it is, jot it down. And then after that, I want you to just write, and again, you're going to time yourself on this one. You're just going to write the sentence, and then you're going to write the numbers. So you're just going to write multitasking is worse than a lie on its own. And then you're going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way to 27 on its own. And when you're done writing the sentence and the letters, the numbers I mean, then hit pause and see what your time is. And I want you to compare the time that you have the first way when you're doing letter, number, letter, number, letter, number, letter, number, versus the second way when you do all the letters, complete the sentence, and then all the numbers. And what I want you to do is post your 2 different times on this page here. So you can say something like, my multitasking time is this, and my focus time is this, right? So I want you to post both the times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just randomly pick somebody who posted their time. So you got to do the exercise to get the value from it and then post your times. And I'm just going to randomly choose one of you who posted your times on this page. And what I'm going to do is next week on video number 4, I am going to talk about this coaching program that I've got just specifically for consultants. It's going to be a full 3-month group coaching program, and whoever we choose is going to get half off into the coaching program if you want to join us, right? And if you don't want to join us, if the coaching program is not right for you, then we'll just give you the equivalent amount, just like as credit, that you can just get any of the products that you want from our website. But I think you'll probably want to join the program because it's going to be really, really, really cool, and I'll tell you more about that, okay? So hopefully that's clear. I want you to do this exercise and then post your times right here on this page. The last thing I want to talk to you about in this video is the difference between high payoff activities and low payoff activities, HPAs versus LPAs. You know, there's a principle that many of you have heard of called the 80-20 rule. That says basically, you know, 80% of your customers give you 20% of your results and vice versa. 20% of your customers probably give you 80% of your income. 20% of your activities give you 80% of your results, right? And this principle just holds true with most of the things that we do, especially in business. And so I want you to really pay attention to your high payoff activities versus your low payoff activities. And I want you to do your best at managing your activities within the 24 hours that you get in a day and within the 7 days that you get in a week. So pay attention to the activities that you do that bring you more of a payoff, specifically more of a return in money in your business. So if you notice that you're making phone calls, and when you make phone calls you make more money, that's a higher payoff activity. If you are like alphabetizing your inventory, you're not bringing in any money when you're doing that, so that's a low payoff activity. So I want you to be aware and start paying attention to and actually start jotting down which of your activities are high payoff activities, which of your activities are low payoff activities, and then I want you to choose your schedule accordingly. Obviously, I want you to do more high payoff activities than low payoff activities, and you're going to see a big boost in the results in your income and the momentum in your business and so forth. And with some of these low payoff activities, I want you to really consider delegating those. Maybe you hire somebody to come in and do some of those low payoff activities because they're not bringing you any money. And with the time that you free up, you can do some of the high payoff activities and probably make enough money, more money than you would be paying those people. So in other words, if you have to bring somebody in and let's say you pay them $10 an hour, but you realize that when you're making phone calls, you're actually producing about $15 an hour, well, that's smart because you're making more money here than you would be paying somebody to do one of these low payoff activities. I want you to start thinking like a business owner from a return on investment perspective, return on the investment of your time and energy, and what kind of financial returns are you getting, as well as kind of emotional returns and stuff like that. So if you pay attention to the distinction between these two pieces, high payoff versus low payoff, I think it'll give you a great look into where you should be spending your time so that you're not just blindly putting 10 hours into your business, you're actually maximizing the 10 hours that you are putting into your business and getting, you know, kind of more bang for your buck. So hopefully this helps from a time management, although we're not calling it time management anymore, right? From an activity management perspective. And if you do a lot of these things, I promise you, you'll be able to work more consistently and you'll get better results, which will get you more excited and just kind of create a cycle that feeds off itself really well. So do the multitasking exercise, post your results right here on this page. And if you have any questions or comments, also post them right here on this page. I'll do my best to answer them as much as I can. And come back and watch the next video. We're going to talk about how do you take all these things and go faster. And then I'll also tell you about this group coaching program that we've got specifically for consultants that's going to go through the end of the seminar year that's designed to help you get those goals that you committed to. Right? Let's create the space. Let's do the goal getting. And I mean, there's so much stuff. I'll tell you more about it. Otherwise, I'd spend 5 minutes talking about it. So hang with us. Come see the next video. Post the stuff on this page, and we'll talk to you real soon.